What's up, everybody? Randy here, Nerds Templar. Sorry for a slightly later start than I planned on. Getting things ready here behind the scenes. So, Beyond Lumina Live, episode 15. Here we are. Halfway point after this episode, at least. Judy, or I should say Troy, welcome back. It has been a bit. Good to see you again. Hope everything's well. Things in the channel are going well, if you're wondering. 96 subs now. Any new people out there, like, subscribe. So we get started here. Our watch party for Beyond Lumina episode 15, as it releases at 9:30 this morning, which is in about 20 minutes. We're gonna maybe start in about 15. I'm not gonna wait too long here though, because there's really no reason to wait for anybody to filter in. This is more for posterity's sake, if there's any Beyond Lumina watchers in the future who perhaps want a little bit of the extra stuff from exactly when it was being written and released. So that's pretty much what we're doing here, and we got many spoilers to come. Wrote the first, I think it was probably about the first 11 and a half episodes about 2 years ago or so, until I finally came back to it after doing a lot of the outline and things like that. Almost done. We're in the 20s now, episode-wise, with the writing. So we're getting close to the end of writing everything. It's already all outlined. So it's just a matter of getting it all down now. I don't have my editor at this point, unfortunately. She's a little busy right now, so just kind of winging it at this point. I would especially like to do at some point in the future some kind of revamped, remastered version of this with perhaps a couple, I'm not even talking professional voice actors, I'm just talking people to do the voices other than me. I can narrate and maybe do one voice, perhaps like Zario or Aezic or somebody. But other than that, it would kind of be nice to get somebody, a guy and a girl, to do all the other parts. That would be helpful. Maybe some better remastered music, even if it's just this music, but like remixed in a sense, and then having the music actually more timed to what's happening in the story. That would be cool. I would really like to have about, let's say these stories are 10 pages per episode written. So let's say about 20. It'd be great to have about 20 like scenes, I guess, made for every episode, just to have some more visual guide than just my AI generated images here that I show you every so often. Well, all the time, basically, for the live streams. You don't get to see them if you just watch the videos. They're really only here on the live streams. But there they are at the top: Aezic, Vala, Zario, Glaus, Artis, newer characters there. And I guess at this point, you know what? Let's get into some spoiling. Talk a little bit about what's been happening on the life and times of Beyond Lumina. Because it would just be the life and times of Lumina. The star system, of course, for anybody who's tuning in randomly and doesn't know what's going on. If you are tuning in randomly and don't know what's going on, I suggest you perhaps watch if you really care, perhaps watch the first 14, at least watch the first episode or two and see what you think. See if you actually would want to watch, because you will be completely lost here in episode 15. It is rated 13 plus, and that's really only because it's not going to be easy to understand. There's a lot of twists and turns for those who would be maybe younger than 13. Could almost call it a political and war mystery thriller drama action fantasy story. That's kind of what it is. let's bring this up here. All right, there's Aezic again, Lieutenant Aezic Zin, former, I guess you could say, if you're following the story, you know, a while back, he's part of the Free World Alliance. He was turned on by the Free World, not that well, turned on. He was labeled as wanted by them, and not necessarily. I don't know if you can really call that being turned on exactly, but so he's fleeing them as well as one of the other three major powers, the Royal Ascendancy. Along with him is Sergeant Vala Rees of the Free World Alliance, who met him just before all of this, and then was sent on solo mission by her commander to keep tabs on Aezic. So that's one reason at least why she's still with him now through all their adventures and antics up to this point, episode 15. Zario as well, with him, and one that attempted to betray him in the beginning and then was betrayed himself by the same people, basically. And so they became partners and eventually friends, you could say. All three of them are currently on a pre-space world known as Enegon. To make contact with a pre-space world is the greatest of offenses in the star system of Lumina. To tamper with any planets that have not achieved space venture yet, and they had to do so as they had hijacked an Ascendancy vessel in an attempt to free some of the Costian prisoners that were taken, sort of because of them, but also because of the Costians themselves, namely Photoglass here, who you saw his picture, who saved them earlier on. Everybody, basically, Aezic, Vala, Zario, and the whole crew, took them to Kostia, his home, where he also introduced them to his faith, which was probably at least in the Ascendancy, by Ascendancy standards, the second, which Kostia is an Ascendancy world, a subjugated one for a long time, but an Ascendancy world nonetheless. Probably the greatest of offenses that, particular for the Kostians to commit. There was a sort of a pact made centuries ago, many moons ago, or many cycles ago, you could say, year cycles, between the Kostians and the leaders of the Ascendancy, not to spread this faith of theirs. And Photoglass takes it upon himself to do so, to bring these Outlanders to their home, to tell them about it. He's warned by some of the others in his order, especially then reprimanded by his superior, Abu Abila. Drop and his subordinates, Crag and Nail of the Ascendancy, come to deal with the issue. No one knows how they know so quickly, or what they know, or anything like that. But they do come, and already by that point, half of these guys are off planet. Hawk was already lost a while back in episode 3-ish. Valanth, Mecca, and Argyle all go to find him, take it upon themselves to leave the rest and go back and find him. Billini and Usion remain on Kostia with the others until, that is Zario, Vala, and Aezic, until those three go to save the Kostians who've been taken because of them, because Drop and his subordinates could not find them. Sorry about all the scrolling here. Because Drop and the others could not find Aezic and the rest of the Outlanders there. They just decided to take random citizens from Kostia, then came back and took Photoglass himself. That's how all of them, all the Kostians, including then also Aezic, Vala, and Zarya, ended up on Enegon, this pre-space planet, where they then met the natives, who ended up, in fact, not being such bad people. Zario, when he goes off, because Aezic and Vala are taken early by them, and then that's how they meet them first. And the others are eventually brought, and let's see here. There we also have some of the third major power third of the three major powers. The Tansorian Federation, these are some of the Saurian military, Private Boss and Sergeant Beta, which we've met a few times now, doing several different things. They, in fact, met up with one Lieutenant J, who had dire news for them of their own Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of Sor, but he could only tell that more, he could only give more information to their highest in command, one General Gaster, who they then go find, and he comes to meet with Jay, and then they all go off to that is at the end of the last episode, close to the end, that is, I think, maybe somewhere around there. Yeah, they meet with Jay, and things happen. He gets a letter from the Prime Minister himself and finds things out that we don't quite know yet. Grim here, one of the Ascendancy soldiers that are still taken hostage, kind of captured by the fake pirates, Zario, Vala, and Aezic. And then they crash land in the Ascendancy ship that they steal, the one that has the Kostians, crash land on Inagon. The rest of the Ascendancy soldiers escape. Grim is the only one left until two other ones return that have fled off by themselves. Whenever all the others are gone and only Artis, the young Kostian boy, remains. Rini is a Kostian, also a Kostian, but she's back with Philini and Usion, back on Kostia still. Dodds there is the subordinate of Master Sergeant Maloon here, which is the subordinate of Tyravum. The other subordinate of Tyravum is Vala. Maloon and Dodds are off, in fact, toward Inagon to find Vala, to make sure everything's okay and she's still on mission, because they haven't heard from her for a long time now. And that's very unlike Vala, because she's very dedicated little soldier. Then Grim, the one Ascendancy soldier left though, and then the two come back to the pod to try to take it back from the Kostians, who are the only ones left there. Grim, in a little bit of a skirmish, ends up saving the Kostians and becoming even more of a traitor, basically, to his Ascendancy people. So he's also still there, and they've all been taken now. The Inagon natives have come into the pod, and everybody that's crash landed and was still in the pod has now been taken to the native city where Vala and Aezic already are. Master Rend, we met him also on Inagon, because Zario, when he went looking for Aezic and Vala earlier on when they first landed there and they were taken, he instead found the shoreline that overlooked a strait that was had on the other side of it a continent, large continent, on the beach of which was a massive Ascendancy facility. And he also saw Drop and the rest make their way to the same shore. And when he tried to get back to the pod, he was knocked unconscious by the Ascendancy, taken to that facility. And then he also meets High Master Rend, who is not happy with any of them, of course. He knows a little bit about Zario. Not happy with Drop. He kills Drop, in fact, without much hesitation. And then there's also the chief that Aezic gets to talk to a bit, but then he turns he and Aezic hit it off at first, but then their relationship, their budding relationship, turns sour very quickly whenever he receives news from one of his guards, and Aezic and Vala are not quite sure what that news was. I think that puts us at the end of the last episode. So there is our recap. And we're at it's 9:23, perfect timing. So we're going to get 5 minutes early here into the watch party. Yes. Let's see, anything else here that happened? Oh, of course, the very final scene was, in fact, an update on Valenth, Valenth, Mecca, and Argyle heading back to Ravina to try to find Hawk. And instead, of course, they get captured, which they were warned was going to happen because they're too notorious already. And they're taken prisoner, and then in the same facility that they're taken, there is another prisoner who's jeered at because his comrades have just been captured. His name is Bohawk, and he tells himself that now he's going to have to spring everybody out because he apparently already had plans to do so himself before the attempted rescue here. So we'll see what happens, I guess. Now that it is episode 15, this will be, after this, again, the halfway point. I'm pretty sure we're going to hit 30 episodes flat. I don't think we'll need 32, but if we do, it might be up to 32. But I think we'll be good with 30. So this will be the halfway point. Without further ado, let us begin. Turn this off. And I hope you enjoy episode 15 of Beyond Lumina, Revelations. Get everything set up here. Beyond Lumina, episode 15, Revelations. In that time, the old world you've known so long, where you were nurtured and where you also fell silent, will be destroyed and vanish, and it shall be no more. But through its death, it shall give birth to a new world. These are the words of Inchalin. Glory to the One. I always learn a lot whenever Sauter Clarence comes to see us, said Usian Turini, as the two of them returned to Philony from the city of Omnis. She's always so nice, too. Philony was on watch duty at the port for Aezic and the others. It had been 7 Kostian rotations, about 2 normal rotations, since they departed, stowed away on the Ascendancy frigate. I must say, Philony replied when they sat down with him, the more I hear and the more I think about it, the more logical what your religion proclaims seems to me. At least the basic stuff. For one, I now can't see how an ordered yet changing universe could come to be on its own, because it didn't really have to be this way, and the universe could not have created itself anyway. How could something, everything, that began to exist, or didn't need to exist, do so without a cause? And there is no doubt to me that I'm different from the animals of the system. Sure, some may seem expert craftsmen in their own right, but to say what a wood eater does is the same as a piece of art created by a master woodworker goes too far. Some animals may be able to instinctually grasp how a basic tool works, like a stick or a rock, or even a blade, but they could never come up with the inventions that I have, or even how to simply smelt Aetherium. And that goes for nature as well as animals. Sure, natural events are strong, much of the time stronger than we can hope to contain, but it remains an unthinking act. Where else could intellect come from, but from intellect? How could nature bestow something that it itself does not have? Villainy paused for a moment. The other two were taken aback by his proclamation. But then he started again. Of course, the hang-up I'm having is how intelligent human life could have come up separately on all of these different worlds if it weren't something that could somehow come about naturally. I wish I could answer your questions, Rini smiled, but those things are way beyond me. You'd be much better off asking Sauter or one of the Foders their response. It's no problem, Villainy smiled back. It was just a thought. The three sat at the port for a while together in silence. Then, Rini asked what everyone was wondering. Do you think they were successful? If everything went the way they planned, they should have the ship by now, and might even be on their way back. They could be, Billini tried to reassure her, yet be realistic. But with something like this, they could easily hit a few snags. The concern grew on Rini's face. But don't worry, Billini started again. Zario and Aezic are way more than those grunts could possibly handle. I hope you're right, Rini murmured. They do seem strong. She sat a moment longer with them, then got up. I guess I should head back to town now. I will see you next rotation. Be well, you two. They said their goodbyes, then the two mercenaries sat alone in silence, until Usian said, I wonder how Hawk is doing, and Ballant and the others, if they were able to find any trace of him. I don't like us being split up like this, not at all. Neither do I, Usian, replied Billini. Neither do I. Feels like our merry band has broken apart, and the pieces are scattered and hidden across Lumina. I guess all we can do is keep having faith in them, that they'll all make it back. And this is the last time we should ever split up, Usian somberly declared. Just then, the ground shook, making the two mercenaries fight to maintain their balance. Man, these tremors are a little annoying, Billini said. That's 4 now since we've been on planet. Wonder what causes it. Chief Oshu, I don't understand, Aezic began. Everything I said to you was the truth. What happened to make you think I'm lying to you? The chief, about to leave the room once more, where Aezic and Vala were, turned back toward him. You say you do not know the Supreme Order, yet you travel with them, and you call them friend, a term which I found can hold no meaning for your kind in the first place. I tell you, I don't know who the Supreme Order is, Aezic implored. Perhaps we can clear this up if we could see our companions. You will be seeing them, the chief began, in my throne room, as I pass judgment on you all. Then he left the room, and the guard locked the door. What in Lumina could have happened? Aezic said, more to himself than to Vala, who had remained mostly quiet the whole time. I'm not sure, Vala replied. Do you think the Supreme Order has something to do with the royal ascendancy? That was my best guess as well, Aezic answered her. But we really can't know for sure until we meet some of them, I suppose. It seems we already have, and we're about to find out. There's something about the chief. I have a feeling we can convince him to trust us again, at least enough not to kill us yet. Then, native guards returned to their room, bound them, and took them back to the chief. There they found already before the leader of the natives, Voderglaus, and the rest of the Kostians, and all 3 of the Ascendancy soldiers once again, who were now all bound. Zario was the only one missing. Judging by the state of the Ascendancy soldiers, he could tell something happened while he and Vala were gone. Only the one who had stayed with them in the escape pod was currently conscious. Where's Zario? Aezic immediately asked Klaus. He went into the forest, looking for the both of you, the Foda replied quietly. Silence, until I address you, Chief Oshu blared. Now, Aezic, tell me why you're in the company of these 3, the chief pointed to the Ascendancy soldiers, from the Supreme Order, and why the pod in which you crashed also bears its mark. Chief, Aezic started, his suspicions now confirmed, and his cover now blown. It seems clear to me now that what you call the Supreme Order is known as the Royal Ascendancy outside of your world. That is who these people are, and where the escape pod came from. As I told you, we are enemies of the Ascendancy, and hijacked their ship in order to save these people, who are from a world subjugated just like yours, but for a very long time. They are not our allies." "Then why are they with you?" the chief asked. "And why did one of the others call one of them a friend?" "I can answer that, if I may," Klaus spoke up. "You see," he addressed both Aezic and the chief, "after Zarya went after you, the other two Ascendancy soldiers came back to the pod." Klaus looked at the chief. "Just before your people showed up. Then, in the fight, Grim here got a hold of one of the pistols, and he saved young Artis over there. That is why I called him a friend." "We brought them along," Aezic finished answering, "because we weren't about to slaughter a bunch of people, even if they were enemy soldiers. They were helpless." The chief sat staring at Aezic for a long time before finally responding. "I see. You are indeed a most interesting person, Aezic Zin. I apologize for being suspicious of you, but these revelations will now help us to better see the truth of the world for ourselves. It seems this royal ascendancy has kept us very much in the dark since they've arrived." Looking at the guards, the chief said something in the native tongue. Then the guards dragged the 3 Ascendancy soldiers away. "What are you going to do with them?" Klaus asked. "They will be imprisoned for now, and eventually executed." "Then please, I implore you, let me first go to the one that saved the boy. I believe he will join us, and I will take full responsibility for him while we are here." "Fine," the chief agreed. "Go, then, but do not let him out of your sight. One false move and we will kill him, and you will take his place in our prison." "Thank you, Chief," Klaus said, bowing and turning to leave. "Wait," Aezic said. "What about Zarya? You don't know anything else?" "Sorry," Klaus replied. "We can't even be sure how long it was after you two were captured that he left, since we were all unconscious when you were taken." "We had reports that others were in the forest, mostly Supreme Order soldiers," said the chief. "But there was another man there too, who didn't wear the Order's uniform. He was, however, taken by them to their main facilities, on the coast near here that I had mentioned to you earlier." "Chief," Aezic began, "is there any way you can assist me in getting over there to help my friend? Like I said, we are wanted by them. He's in grave danger if they've captured him." "He's in as much trouble as he would have been had he not been wanted," the chief started. "But don't worry. It turns out that you and I have similar goals. It seems to be destiny that brought you here now. Too long I've waited for the right time to strike against these off-world invaders, and you and your people are the first I've ever seen from space that did not bow to the Supreme Order. You fill me with hope. This must be the time I was waiting for. Will you join me in this fight, Aezic? Will you storm the Supreme Order's fortress, rescue your ally, and burn it down to the ground, along with all of the evil things they're designing within? What say you?" Another war, Aezic thought. How many am I going to start before this is all over? They had been thrown into nearly the worst-case scenario, far from their original missions, even farther from Aezic's original mission. All he could do now was hope to keep alive those with whom he was there, and he was not about to leave Zarya behind after all they've been through. "I will help you. When do we begin?" "I don't understand, sir," the young first private of the SOAR military, Boss, said to his commander. "Why did General Gaster bring us on this mission? Why wouldn't he just take his normal crew?" "I can't be sure myself, Private," replied Sergeant Beta. He had been pondering the same question, however, and he did not like any of the conclusions he could draw. The two had been recruited to the team of a war hero, one of the leaders of the Tansorian Federation, and were now aboard his frigate, known as the Apurs, the ship aboard his flagship that his own personal crew used. Never in his short career would Voss have imagined being aboard such a renowned vessel. one nearly as well known as its commander. The mission, as far as they were aware, involved their world's prime minister, long since thought to be kidnapped, or worse. The news that the general received from their foreign visitors no doubt had something to do with their leader, Vieta thought, and those who brought the message must be allies. By the look of the other soldiers, the rest of the small crew General Gaster brought along were just as on edge as Vieta and Kvas. The comms turned on, and the leader of the foreign soldiers, the Ravinian military's Lieutenant J, addressed the Saurian crew. General, you'll need to disable any tracking systems you have on board, and disable your comms as well. Just stay on our tail. We won't be too long before reaching our destination. General Gaster didn't yet fully trust the Ravinians, but he did perceive J to be genuine. And from what he read in the letter from the Prime Minister himself, he had little choice but to trust that they were really on the Prime Minister's side. His sharp instincts told him that this was a momentous event that would reshape the entirety of Lumina, for better or worse. If this is how it is, he thought, then we will not go down easy. Aye, Lieutenant, we acknowledge, and we'll follow you in. See you on the other side, he said, and with that the comms closed and they cut all communication to the outside, hidden now from even their own people. It won't be long before they start wondering what happened to us, Gaster thought once more, but we should have enough time before they send anyone to look for us, unless it's even worse than we think. The crew he brought with him was a small battalion of mostly his own soldiers, save for Vieta and Kvas. None of them, however, were told anything other than the importance and secrecy of the mission. Only Kvas and Vieta were told it had to do with the Prime Minister. Their lower ranks made them easier to trust in this situation, and not knowing at all what to expect, Gaster thought they might be able to serve the Prime Minister well during his exile. Looking at the star map, Gaster could see as they continued to travel without navigation systems, they were making their way farther and farther from any current planetary path. It looked as though they were being led into the deepest and most empty part of Lumina, the null zone, a large, empty space into which no planet journeyed, perhaps the only safe place left. Yes, it's true. High Master Ren of the Royal Ascendancy gave a deep and menacing chuckle. One Mecha Launer of the Dalcyan rebel group, along with Maddox Valanth and Argyle, captured as they attempted to return to the scene of one of their many crimes and aid in the prison break of their friend, Bo Hawk. Does it bring you hope to know he still lives? It shouldn't, because by now, his execution is imminent, as will be the execution of the other 3 Dalcyan trash. Zarya was nearly shaking with rage, completely forgetting the fear he just felt at the sight he saw earlier, and the weapon he knew was inches away from his captor. He couldn't know for sure if the Ascendancy dog was telling the truth or not, but he couldn't figure out how else High Master Rend knew exactly who was on the ship and where they had gone. Then Rend began speaking again, as though something else just occurred to him. Oh, well, of course, you have an idea of what this is, don't you? He referred back to the plasma pistol he had just placed inside a compartment in the arm of his chair, the one that had shot through Drop's synth plate like it was cloth. You are, after all, the first exposed. Reports indicated it had taken quite a toll on your health, but you seem to be doing well enough still. You must have been quite the physical specimen back before your incident. To Lumina with my incident, Zario shot back. If you hurt them, you're all going to pay. He, of course, could not even budge the aether cuffs that bound his arms behind him. A toll shall be exacted, High Master Rend rumbled, but it is not mine to pay. It will start with you and end with the rest of your new friends, Lieutenant Aezic Zin and his crew. You've chosen the worst place to touch down, the place that will now become your grave. He paused for a moment and continued, but you don't get the same quick treatment as the slime on the floor. He referred to Drop, who still lay there, dead. Your death will be a little slower and much more agonizing. Perhaps we may even learn something interesting from your condition. Addressing the guards who brought Zario, he said, "Take him back to the cell and bring Drop's remaining crew in here." Zario shouted back as he was dragged away, "You better hope that I don't get out of here. You and the rest of you mere scum." "The predator heeds not the clamorings of the prey," Rend replied, rather casually. In a similar prison, deep in the mountains of Animov on Ravina, Valanth, Mecca, and Argyll awaited their similar fate. Mecca feared it was the end. Argyll tried consoling her, and Valanth tried thinking of a way out. "I don't get it," Valanth said quietly once he knew they were alone. "How did they know who we were and exactly where we would be? Something doesn't add up here. It's like we were tracked the whole time. But when could they have had a chance to do that? The last we saw of either Ascendancy or Alliance was on Sotama when the bounty on Aezic was broadcast. We even checked the ship over since then, when we landed on Kostia." Then they heard the door to the prison swing open, and footsteps approaching. Valanth stopped talking. Then 4 guards approached and unlocked the cell. One directed the others to take Valanth, and 2 came in and grabbed him off the cold stone bench, giving him a swift shot to the gut, and dragged him out of the cell, locking Mecca and Argyll back inside. "No!" Mecca screamed, as Valanth was taken away, and led up through the military barracks and into a familiar corridor. They took a couple of turns, passing many closed doors, until coming to the one Valanth expected they would. Entering, he was once more face to face with one Captain DeRoy Odoron. "Well, well," Captain Odoron chuckled. "One of my assets has returned to me, but not in the same manner that I left him." "Odoron," Valanth seethed. "Or should I just call you Master Omen now? We did everything you asked of us, and in return you set us up and tried to have us taken out. So we were just as expendable as the rest of your lackeys?" "You got it now, lackey," Odoron chided, "though a little less expendable than some. You forced my hand when you became too close to Lieutenant Zin. I knew what your leader was thinking. I knew he would turn on me. What I want to know now, though, is why you are helping Zin. What is he after that you're pursuing?" "I don't know what he's up to, and I couldn't care less," Valanth answered. "As you can see, I'm here, and not with him. If you have questions, I suggest you take it up with him yourself." Odoron motioned for the guards to close in on Valanth, and they began to punch and kick him until he was beaten to the ground. "If you really don't care about the Alliance officer, tell me everything you know about his mission. Surely there's something." "Mere scum," Valanth spat back. "Even if I knew something, what makes you think I'd tell someone like you? Zin must be some kind of fool to believe you were a Ravinian captain." The guards began to beat him once again, until he was dazed and coughing on the floor. "Oh, you're right. What am I thinking? You're just like your friend Hawk, aren't you? You wouldn't break no matter what we do to you. Well, too bad for him. We know that he can't be of any more use to us, and he isn't much longer for Lumina. You, however, may have a different weakness, one that is currently imprisoned below us, named Mecha Launer." Valanth quickly met the menacing gaze of Captain Odoron, who was really Master Omen of the Royal Ascendancy. disguised as a captain of the Ravinian military and controlling all activity on Ravina. Don't you touch her. If I knew anything, I would tell you. I don't care about Aezic Zin or what he's doing, and neither does Mecha. That's why we are here and no longer with him, like I just told you. Valanth could see a shift in Omen's expression, and he knew he believed him this time, but he was not very happy about it. So, Omen started, are you saying that you have no useful information to give me either? Then I suppose we could just begin dispatching you all, starting with young Miss Launer. They're on Kostia, Valanth finally said. Omen stopped and listened. That's all I know. Our ship was damaged out of Sotama, and we were helped by a group of Kostians, who gave us shelter. We left with the ship ourselves as soon as it was fixed. Master Omen waited a moment to make sure Valanth wouldn't continue, then spoke again. Is that all you know? I already know all of that, and more myself. It seems you really are useless. Take him away and prepare to execute them all, along with Bohawk, he said to the guards. Wait, Valanth shouted. We can still be useful to you. I'll do whatever you want, just don't hurt Mecha. Omen held up a hand to halt the guards. And what about the others? He asked Valanth. Spare them too, and I'll do whatever you say, Valanth replied. What exactly would you have me do with them? Said Omen. Valanth answered, just keep them here where they are. Just don't execute them. And what's to stop you from coming back at some point and aiding in their escape yourself? Valanth thought a moment. Tell the guards in the prisons, if they see me, kill me on sight and execute the others. Master Omen was intrigued by the offer. Fine, I accept those terms. I can think of many different things you may indeed be able to help with. But don't get upset if you find yourself in a situation where you're perhaps in over your head. For this is a service to you, keeping you and your friends alive on my authority. Be sure you do not make me regret this decision. But I need to be assured that they're alive, Valanth quickly added. I'm not just going to take your word for it, Omen. Of course, Master Omen replied. I will allow you to remain informed of their condition on occasion. They will be kept alive and comfortable. Enough. Valanth didn't trust Omen at all, but he didn't have any other choice. This deal was the only way to extend the lives of him and his friends, especially Mecha, whom he had always loved. He hoped Hawk could handle the rest. Valanth asked, "Then what do you want me to do?" It seemed to be ages, drifting in the emptiness of space, with no positioning or communications equipment to guide them, before the Tansorian Federation frigate, the Epurs, captained by General Gaster, arrived at their destination. The ship that led them to this remote place, the Null Zone, manned by soldiers of the Alliance world of Ravina's military, signaled to them by drifting closer to their ship. All right, men, General Gaster started. It looks like it's about time to see what our friends have in store for us. Be ready for anything. The Federation soldiers, including Sergeant Bieta and First Private Voss, gathered their gear and prepared to embark on their secret mission. Voss was nearly jumping out of his boots, shaking with anxiety and anticipation. This was a much more frightening post than his old sentry duty. Bieta nudged his subordinate, then gave him a reassuring nod, letting the young soldier know that he had his back. Voss returned the gesture, and then refocused himself. Soon, in the black space speckled with starlight, they began to see the silhouette of something quite large, massive, in fact. As they neared it, they saw the dark shape become more defined. It was a great flagship, one like they had not seen before. Gaster suspected it was a Ravinian ship. Now they would truly find out if these Ravinians were friend or foe, for the general's frigate, as renowned as it was, had no chance against an entire fleet of ships. If it was a trap, however, they had missed their opportunity, the general thought, as they were led into the open docking bay of the flagship by their guide. If it was a trap, the general figured they would be able to hold the ship inside the bay. His mind eased slightly. Then he was altogether relieved, as he saw his leader, the Prime Minister of Sor, arrive in the docking bay to greet them unhindered. "My lord," General Gaster greeted the Prime Minister joyously as he trotted out of the ship. "I am overjoyed to see you are safe and unharmed after all this time." "Lugard, my friend." The Prime Minister approached him and embraced him warmly. "I'm glad you made it here safely. There may yet still be hope for our cause." The rest exited the ship, and the Ravinians too, including Jay, who began to make his way toward headquarters, before he was stopped by a young Ravinian soldier coming from that direction. "Lieutenant Jay, sir, come quickly," the young man panted. "The news is talking about Lieutenant Zin." There it is, episode 15. And it's not called Kerr. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, episode 15, Revelations. That is sort of what happened. I mean, there's still plenty of revelations to come. You can think of that as the beginning of the revelations. We will be, as always, Saturday and Wednesday back here, chilling, watching the episodes as they drop. Wednesday and Saturday mornings at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The stream will start about 9 a.m. and I'll pop in about 10 after, give people a chance to, filter in, and then we'll give a brief recap, I guess, like we did today, of everything that's been going on for anybody who forgot in the past few days since the last one. And again, most people that are watching this right now, actually live, are just going to be random people tuning in. So sorry for you guys. I'm sure none of you actually want to watch this, but hey, if you listen to a little bit and it does catch your interest, then I suggest going back and watching the first 14 episodes before you watch or listen to any more of this one. We will be, as I said, I'll give you even more details here on the story, just okay, so how it's laid out, I should say. 10 pages written for each episode. You can think each episode like a chapter of a book, because this is the book of Aezic Zin, the main character, who you're seeing now on the stream. And it'll be about 300 pages, which will be 30 episodes, 10 pages each. That's what we're shooting for. About finished writing it. And again, we release 2 every week. So that means we'll be about, I think the first week of December is when we're going to finish up with this first season, you could say. You could call it first season, first season of the series, Beyond Lumina, the Book of Aezic. There's definitely more to come. I don't know if it's going to come immediately after. I don't know if it does. I don't know exactly what will be first. Planning on some other stories that are not Beyond Lumina related, but also potentially going to do a short story. It's going to work. It might work a lot like this, but it might just be a shorter story, maybe just 10 episodes or 10 to 15, maybe something like that, of the adventures of Zario and friends and what happened with Zario and the others before they met Aezic. So Zario, the leader of as they were talking there at the end, the leader of the Dalsine mercenaries, which would be him, Maddox Valanth, there on now captured on Ravina and selling himself out basically for the lives of the rest of them. Bohawk, who's been captured on Ravina, now revealed. Mecca and Argyle, who are also now captured with them, all on Ravina, and then Filini and Usion, who are still on Costia. And Zario, of course, on Inagon, the pre-space world, with Aezic and Vala, their new friends. Well, his new friends, and Filini and Usion's new friends. Hawk had never really had time to Hawk has not actually met Vala, so he doesn't know her at all, and didn't have time to befriend Aezic because by the time they lost him, they were still planning on betraying Aezic. Valanth, Mecca, and Argyle don't really care for Aezic and Vala at all. So yeah, I would say I guess Zario, Usion, and Filini are really the only ones that are friends with Aezic and Vala. Now that I think about it, of course, then where is everybody? That's where they are. Ravim's still back on Ravina, overseeing things for the free as a Free World Alliance officer. He's overseeing things on Ravina, an Alliance world. One of his other subordinate, Vala being one, his other subordinate, Malun, on her way to find Vala to make sure everything is going smoothly with her mission to track Aezic, keep tabs on him, along with her subordinate, Corporal Dodds, going with her. On their way to Inagon, in fact, as we find out, and I think not this episode, but the last episode, there's Private Boss and Sergeant Benta of the Saurian military who've just arrived at the flagship. That was, I guess, one of the biggest reveals, right? So the spoilers, by the way, for anybody that might just randomly pop into the stream. We've already watched the episode, so it's over. It's done. Now we're just talking about what happened. But that would have been one of the bigger reveals here, of course. They made their way to the Ravinian flagship out in the middle of nowhere and meet up with the Prime Minister of Sorglaus on Inagon with the pre-space world, with the others crash landed there. Him, the Costians, Aezic, Vala, Zario, and these Blem, Talarans, Abila still, of course, all back on Costia in their temple. Drop, Crag, Nail, all captured. Drop is dead now, killed by his super superior. Don't know the fates of Crag and Nail just yet, but we do know that they've been called up to the same superior, that is High Master Rend, the guy leading the stuff happening on Inagon secretly, because of course it was thought to be a pre-space planet. We now know it's not actually a pre-space planet because they have a lot of contact with the Royal Ascendancy, namely High Master Rend, and also namely they think they're known as the Supreme Order and not the. That's what they know them as, and not the Royal Ascendancy. Rini, another Costian back there. Artis, another Costian that's on Inagon, one of the captured ones. Captured, in fact, by Grim, the Ascendancy soldier who took him hostage. The one that also, the Ascendancy soldier who then decided to, I guess, betray his allies and save the Costians in a moment of, I guess, a moment of compassion. They all were, of course, then taken to the native city. Jay, their lieutenant of the Ravinian military, not the Alliance, not the Ascendancy, not the Tansorian Federation, but he is just a Ravinian soldier, lieutenant of the Ravinian world planet military. The one that takes Gaster and the other Saurian soldiers to the flagship to meet their prime minister, who I don't have a picture of, so there's one that I'm actually missing. I in fact don't know. I never imagined what he looked like yet, to be honest with you. Well, I guess we'll have to do that. And then also another reveal, which was slightly already implicated many other times. Captain Alderaan, back from the very, very beginning, the Ravinian captain, was in fact just posing. We already knew that, obviously. He betrayed everybody. he is known actually as Master Omen, an ascendancy military leader. That's what Master means. That's his military title there, Master. That's why High Master would obviously be one above that, if you're wondering. There's also Low Masters. There's also High Leaders. I don't have them on here. If you're curious, Drop, you will find out later on, because it is made explicit. Drop is a High Leader, and these are, I'm sorry. Drop is a leader, and these are low leaders here, Crag and Nail, known as the low leaders. So still, this is the lowest officer level in the ascendancy. Grim is not, because he was just one of the soldiers in their cohort. Of course, obviously, then one of the lower ranking ones. And then finally, we already met Chief Oshu and saw him. You didn't meet anybody else yet, so gonna have to wait on number 30. Wow, we're speeding through everybody now. 30, almost 30 pictured characters now. They will be coming shortly. As I said, of course, yeah, this is the halfway point now, 15 episodes in. Episode 16 will come on Saturday morning, because we do this again 2 times a week. So Wednesday morning, Saturday morning. So Saturday morning, episode 16. And I will tell you also that episode is called, spoiler alert, it is called The Eye. So make of that what you will. And I hope to see you then. Check out the community tab. You can see all the stream times coming up for the whole month. I have the monthly calendar posted there. Check that out. We do Pokemon collection stuff here. We play Pokemon TCG live on Monday mornings. Also going to play it tonight, in fact, Wednesday evening tonight. I'm going to also maybe play it after our stream on Saturday morning, after we live view Beyond Lumina. I might also play some TCG live, because we missed our Monday morning stream this Monday. So I might fill it in with that and also make it up by doing an extra one this Wednesday evening, which is my tentative TCG live time. Other than that, we do other card game TCG openings, non-Pokemon related, on Thursday morning. And that is all the streams, guys. So I hope to see you in one of those coming up. Again, definitely the Beyond Lumina ones. We have a lot of other stuff happening here in Nerds Templar behind the scenes. Other stories, other things like games. I'll be coming back with we were doing a Temple Foundry vodcast, just kind of checking out different stuff that we have in the works here, stuff that I can, at least enough, the things that I can reveal at this point, just to, kind of whet the palate of anyone out there, especially artists, because again, I'll just mention one more time, these are all AI, these pictures right here, are all AI generated images. So at some point for this and all the games and other stories we're making, it would be great to have some images, some beautiful artwork done by beautiful artists, even if they're just aspiring artists. But we do, on that same point, I believe, have a potential way to more quickly enter into this game creation, real game creation world, where we're actually coming out, producing the games, and making a little bit off of them. Maybe not to the point where Nerds Templar Games is itself a thing just yet, but where we can kind of coordinate with somebody else to get something out, and then from there see if we can build a Nerds Templar Games. But that's all for the future, guys. I will catch you in one of those next ones. For now, though, I'm Randy, and this is Nerds Templar. Peace out! Later on, everybody. Sorry if we're waiting for the spoiler thing to go away. I will catch you all later in one of those next ones. Check the community tab for the schedule. Peace out, everybody.